Alright, so this is definitely gonna be like an impromptu thing, right? And I've been planning and cooking up something formulated for this, but I think it's kind of reached like a boiling point, and I think it's very important that we start talking about self accountability. And when I say that, I don't just mean within, Pokemon Unite and whatnot, because that's definitely showing. But I think IRL, we also need to normalize self accountability. Now, in one way that it definitely becomes prominent that a lot of people are lacking self accountability is the ability to assess and learn from their mistakes. Now, a lot of times in games, people will make certain decisions where the team will deem it to not be the greatest move. They definitely could have did better without you doing said deed that you did and whatnot. But in some cases, it's very situational in what you should do. Because remember, you don't want to engage in team fights where you and your teammates are underleveled. So it becomes a very dicey situation. So let's say, for example, in a situation where your teammates are down in levels, getting severely beaten, right? And it's past the 5-minute mark. You see at least 2 of your teammates do not even have 9 yet, and it's the 5-minute mark. Honestly, if any objective is up, no one should be trying to go to an objective period, because that time window of being able to get your stuff together, I believe, has already came and went. Now y'all just have to let objectives go in order to go score, farm up, get experience as in any way that you possibly can. So if the majority of the team is down bottom and they're moving for that objective, and you know they're going to be moving down there, go top and go score, go farm, do what you gotta do in order to get your levels. Because at that point in time, you're just gonna be a detriment to your team. That is not a simple better judgment call. That's just a sheer fact at that point in time. Because if you don't have the firepower to back up your team, you're just a liability. I'm going to be completely honest. I've been there many a times, especially with mons like T-Tar, where you do not even have your 9 by the 6-minute mark. I feel if you're definitely playing something like T-Tar where you have to get 9 as soon as possible to be of aid to your team, if you're not getting that until 6, there's an issue. But the thing with that would be like with T-Tar, Metagross, the pseudo legendaries that evolve at 9, they also need help, and they have to be enabled a good bit. So in order for these mons to completely engage at full capacity, the team has to be able to allow them to eat. But at the same time, especially with Larvitars, Pupitars, within that phase, you have to work with your team. I can understand you wanting to power farm to get your 9 as soon as possible, but the most efficient way to get your levels as a Tyranitar or a Metagross, work with your team. Because you're going to end up getting experience either way while working with your team. That's the best way to go about it. Now, in another situation where decision making is very pivotal, and I've had this happen to me today. I'll have the clip posted up, right? I was playing Blastoise, and at first I was just like, it's 2:30, we need to set up, we have to go mid. I ping repeatedly, the team doesn't listen. The basis that I go with is, it's basically like any regular old home you go into, right? The defender is there to set up the table. The attackers and the speedsters are there to cook, right? The support lays down the table, gets the utensils and everything like that, all right? So you have everyone should know their role. Everyone should know exactly what they're doing within that process. Now, if someone decides to not be a part of that entire process, everything gets messed up, all right? Now, it's like in some situations it'll work out fine because, sometimes you're out just for a picnic. It is what it is. You get the picks and you go on about your business. In big team fights, though, You need your table setter. You need your support with the utensils, because if you're out there by yourself as an attacker or a speedster and no one's setting your table and you don't have any utensils, you're out there just eating with your bare hands. Like, you're doing caveman activity right there, you know? And the bottom line is, you should be playing behind your supporters. You should be playing around your supporters, because those are the people that you're going to need at the end of the day. You can't survive as an attacker or a speedster without your defender support. And it goes vice versa, you know, on the other side of the coin. Like, all these roles need each other. So we need to put egos to the side and stop acting like we're that guy when in fact we are not. Support and defenders, please play around your carries. If you see someone who is putting in work, defend that person, play with that person, enable them, because 9 out of 10 times they're going to be the ones that win the game for you. They may not be the sole cause, however, they're going to play a big role. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say it, if you're playing in duos, in pre-made duos by the way, if you're running like an all-rounder with like a comfy or something like that, and your duo is not putting in the work or the numbers that needs to be displayed for the team, and y'all two are going off doing whatever, y'all need to stop. Because you're not benefiting anyone, you're not benefiting yourself, you're just putting your team in a very bad position. You know what I mean? And this is mainly coming from, you know, solo queue, duo queue, or trio queue. This is mainly what this is about. Because if you play fives, y'all should already know and have your stuff down. If not, I'm gonna tell you right now that this spiel is not for fives. You know? But I got off on a rant, right? Because I was playing Blastoise earlier. We were doing a team fight. I pinged mid. Boom. Team did not go mid. Instead, they were like at bottom pad. They were inching to try to get the bottom objective that was there. All right. We had problems with Zara, and I believe there was a Gardevoir as well. I'll have it posted up. I don't remember exactly who was there, but I know the prominent problem was Zeraora. And we also had a Ninetales. But however, most of the game they were off doing their own thing, which is fine. Ninetales is able to do that because basically she's able to play as a ranged defender because of Avalanche and Blizzard, which is basically that's what they were running and that's what they were doing, which is perfectly fine. They were able to handle Zara and someone else when they were defending Pat on their own. The issue that came up at Ray was that we had a big old team fight. I'm surfing, hydro pumping, everything I need to do to screen people out. However, there's one person that's not participating. Can anyone guess who? Ding, ding, ding. A9. No one else was paying attention, but then it's like I go down and see that she's ripping Ray. Why are you ripping Ray when we're having a big old team fight in the middle of everything? Now, here's the thing. The bad decision making could be forgiven. However, here comes the problem. They want to thanks ping after making said bad decision and blaming everyone else, when that is far from the truth. You made a decision to go ahead and rip Ray instead of helping your Blastoise and your team dominate this team fight. Now granted, the team fight was going perfectly fine, but then all of a sudden it just went south because the firepower that we needed to go up against the other team was being deposited into ripping Ray. And we all know A9 ain't supposed to be ripping Ray no way, no how. I remember there being a Venusaur on our team, and that Venusaur would have been perfectly fine to rip, just we needed to get everyone else out of there. So that's where the self-accountability kicks into play. You made a boneheaded decision, and then you tried to blame everyone else on the team because of that decision. That's not how this game works, boo-boo. If you make a decision like that, and your team has already made the decision of participating in a team fight, that's what the majority did. And then you choose it upon yourself to go ahead and do something else and rip Ray while the team is doing what the majority chose to do, you are part of the problem. I'm sorry to tell you, that is the issue. You were not a Ripper. You weren't on Glaceon. You were A9. You are supposed to be playing behind the defender with Avalanche and Blizzard. You are supposed to be helping me clear out the team. That way the Rippers or whoever else is on the team can go ahead and do what they need to do. And we needed the screen. That is the main problem. Bad decision making can be fixed. I'm not worried about, the quote unquote low win rates or whatever. That's not the issue. The main issue is people having huge egos and not holding themselves accountable. One issue being, oh, well, I don't like playing standards because they're bot matches. People look at standards and think that because they are thinking on one base level of the game. They aren't taking into account I should probably do standards to learn timers for when bees pop up. 8 o'clock bees are very important during rotation process within this game. It basically demonstrates you know what time bees pop up, you know when you're supposed to rotate. That shows good map awareness. People should be using standards more to develop these type of habits, but a lot of people don't do that because they just take it as I'm fighting bots, I'm not learning anything. Instead, when you could be using that entire session to better rotations, to better understand spawn timings, you could be using standards for that. And this isn't to be mean or anything, but I'm just gonna tell the truth and I'm trying to tell it how it is. All right, better decision, like people can become better players and make better decisions. Sometimes you're just stuck in a hard place, sometimes it's just a bad game, that's understandable. However, it's when you choose a bad decision and then you try to put it on somebody else, that's wrong and that's bad. You have to hold yourself accountable, sit there and be like, maybe I shouldn't have made this decision. Instead, you get players like this who make decisions, who decide to do things on their own, and then want to try to blame everyone else on the team. That's not how that works. And that's not, no. You need to sit down and reevaluate your own stuff. And the reason that it's so prevalent now is because I also see IRL, a lot of people do not want to hold themselves accountable for the decisions that they make and everything like that. And I can understand certain situations. However, we have to sit down and understand that there are decisions that we made. Yeah, we have to deal with some cards that were dealt, but we also still have choices and everything along that line. So just be aware of that. Anyway, this has been my impromptu rant, or at least a PSA, as I would like to call it, but some people are going to call it a rant. I would say it's just a public service announcement, if anything. It was impromptu, but hopefully this is helpful. The moral of the story and what I just plan to get out of this is basically just helping players have better judgment and better decision making, and also be able to assist their teams in a better manner. Because granted, it's a team-based game. At the end of the day, you need your team in order to win. No one's a one-man army. It's sad to say, but it is what it is. You have to work with your team. Otherwise, you're going to have a terrible time. And that's when the game is most enjoyable, is when everyone is united. It's literally in the game name, unite. So please start doing that. Put your ego to the side. Also remember, it's a 10-minute game, bro. 10-minute game. Whoever is frustrating you within that game, it's only for 10 minutes, right? And people are probably going to be like, well, that A9 must be living rent-free in your head because of that. No, it's become a progressive problem that's not only prevalent in gaming. A lot of people are just selfish nowadays. And it's showing and it's reflecting in team-based games now. And the one thing that I will say for sure is that nowadays I really don't care about win rate or anything like that. Win rates are not important to me. Those numbers don't tell anything. If I ever look at a trainer call, a trainer's card or whatever, it's to look at the assist. And when I look at assists, I look at like the past 20 games, or I go all the way down as far as I can. So it's like the last 10, last 20. If they're usually above 5, then it's just like, all right, I can understand. It might have been a bad game. They were trying to play with their teammates. That's fine. That's whatever. If they're generally always below 5 in assists, though, that's when I'm just like, there's a problem. And they should probably go back to standards and learn how to play with their team. And honestly, I think standards is the best way to learn how to work with a team, because bots are always going to be grouped up. So I believe in standards would be the best way to help facilitate players, especially newer players, to get themselves acquainted to work with a team. Telling someone to, you could learn it in 5s as well, but 5s is a completely different environment. So it's like, if you're new to the game and everything like that, I'd advise you to go to standards to learn rotations, learn those timers, learn how to work with your teammates. All right. Because there definitely have been games before where it's like, I would play something, not get like 22 assists and still lose. That's just unfortunate. That's because someone was, usually made like a boneheaded decision. You know what I mean? But in those cases, they usually didn't, they didn't thanks ping. I think they kind of knew that they were, that wasn't the time to rip. It is what it is. Like, I'm not going to get mad about it. Like, sometimes you make a decision, you commit to it, and it wasn't a good call. That it is what it is. You know what I mean? Next time, just operate with your team, figure out what the flow is, because if your defender is more focused on the team fight and everything like that, he's using his ult and everything, they're ready to go for a team fight. So just be mindful of that. Remember, your attackers and speedsters, you need your defenders and supporters. You defenders and supporters, you need your attackers and speedsters. All right? It's a whole circle of harmony. And if one side's just like, oh, well, screw this side, or this side is like, oh, screw that side, it's where the problems come in and you just lose the game entirely. Anyways, this has been Rhapsody Starfire. Stay safe, stay golden, and shine bright, my stars. Ciao.